There's something happening. Marissa just wants the mic back.
In full transparency, I didn't read, so they can't throw me under the bus now. It's easier this way. One of the things that we noticed mostly in these last few chapters, but as themes throughout the whole book, which I think everyone on the team here really liked that it kind of tied together, was choices. Everything came down to choices, and throughout this you had said that action or inaction is a choice. We had also identified that being passive versus active in situations in the workplace and at home, and then as well shifting your mindset, your point of view, or your perspective to take control of the whole situation for you. And one of the key points from that was that seeing obstacles as challenges to overcome rather than just roadblocks, which came from a complete one. So that's a key takeaway.
Yes, so really valuable point. I let it sink in for a moment that a change in perspective can cause you to completely see things differently or respond differently. So again, it's like an awareness thing. You start to get familiar with how you're responding to a situation and then double check your perspective and decide if you need a new perspective before you move forward, right? All right, good stuff. How about the other two groups? How did your discussions go? I'm going to let Jeremy take it, and then I'm going to ask, well, I don't know if there is someone, maybe Matt, but I was going to ask someone in the other group who hasn't done a lot of speaking yet. But so Jeremy, you're up, then Matt. Put you on the spot.
We talked a lot about just how identifying the purpose or aligning with purpose is a powerful tool in terms of the engagement and how we may not all have reached this point where we are settled, where we're in a role where like, this is the role that we can do forever and ever. It's the fact that we're committed and invested to doing this and enjoy doing the work, and we feel that there's this value exchange that's in a good place where you're working to fulfill and meet the needs of the business while the business is always looking, and it's also looking at you as an individual and saying we want to continue to invest in your ongoing development and support you in that. So just how important that is that at Cliffstop we're engaging in that conversation at both sides of how are we performing today and how can we grow there, and how can we continue to support your growth as we move towards the future.
Someone might need to help me with this if I don't get it right, but there's like a 3-circle analogy where it's someone's abilities, a company need, and is it timing or is it something else? Maybe that's the company need, a desire, maybe something like that. But there's a neat infographic on that, and if you think about it, it is driven by what is needed by the company, someone's abilities and desires, and then getting those things matched up. I wish I could remember the third one right now, but those two for sure. He's like, bring it, I'm ready. The question, did you listen to anything we just said?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Sorry. For the most part. Don't ask me to repeat it. We spent a lot of time on the chart, the enlightened engagement model, P1 and P2. It was the concept that everybody's engaged in something. Sometimes it's more constructive or positive, sometimes it's more negative or more constructive. So just understanding that a lot of times we talk about you're being engaged or not being engaged, and kind of shifting the conversation to being engaged in the right things, and understanding what that looks like and how as leaders we can shift that and help people work through it. We talk a lot about taking an optimistic view and positive, but also being constructive. And if you have a problem complaining about it, that's a sign that you care about something, but it's the taking it from complaining and being constructive to a positive situation where it's constructive and problem solving for solutions. And that's how a leader can influence somebody that's being engaged in the wrong way, in the wrong direction.
Thank you, Matt. Let's give him a round of applause. So that drove me to a thought, and I think this will be one of the key takeaways from today. There's a call it a three-tiered approach or a three-step approach. You could probably document this. This might be usable for the TE team to like talk to lots of people about as well. But if you're thinking about just your overall impact, a way to think about leadership or overall impact through the way that you work could be in this way, 3 steps. Awareness, you become really aware of what's happening around you. You take action, and oh my goodness, I just had a third one, and it is important. Awareness, you take action. You check your mindset and you shift it as needed. So you're aware, you take action, and maybe you should check your mindset first and then take action. But I think you get the point, right? Those are 3 critical steps in like how you go about maneuvering things throughout the day. And I say maneuvering things not to say that it's always that you're addressing a difficult situation. There's plenty of difficult situations we all have to address, but more importantly, addressing every situation even as an opportunity and looking at it through those lenses. What's happening around me, be really aware of it. Check your mindset, especially if you're second guessing yourself. You need a dose of courage or enthusiasm or commitment or whatever it is, and then align yourself for action. All right, so I had a few things that I thought were pretty enlightening. She likes the word enlightening, so I'll stick with that. We'll make Marlene proud. Does anyone follow Marlene on LinkedIn? Brittany? Just me and Brittany. She's got some useful items. She sometimes gets kind of fired up in the way that she speaks, but she speaks the language of no drama leadership all day, every day, I think. Sounds kind of exhausting, doesn't it? To me, it does. I don't know. Just putting that out there. All right. I wanted to say that talk about awareness. There's a part in here on 171, and it mentions, it says, when I see supervisors and managers complain, fail to ask for what they want, and exhibit negativity, I know those leaders are unaware of their own expression or powerlessness. It goes on to say more things here, but I mean, isn't that what that represents when someone is complaining? It shows powerlessness and a lack of awareness on where they are, and just that they need to find their way to a stepping off point where they choose to see that differently. But it's really damaging when that's a leader, especially if there's an individual on the other end who's not willing to correct that, because in fact, it's their leader or it's organizational structure, and that's just a difficult thing for, some people more than others to power through. But think about that in your own self. We're all guilty of it again. But when we're complaining and not taking action and not processing things in the way that's constructive, it really is representing powerlessness, and it's actually probably a cry for help. If you look really deep under that, it's probably a cry for help, because I don't think anyone wants to get stuck there forever, right? So they're really just reaching out and expressing how they feel, not knowing what they're really, it's a lack of awareness on how they're coming across, right? So we talk about awareness, and this is a really good thing to look for in the people around you when there's complaining. It could be that they're looking for help, or it could just be that they need a swift reminder, and hopefully this is more true outside of these walls, because inside these walls, these are things we work on, and we have such a great collective group of people, but you run into people of all types, and we've all run into the complainer who will just complain and complain, and to the point you're exhausted and you just have to leave. But pick your battles, obviously, but if you find a time where you can find that person who really doesn't want to be there, it might just be a cry for help. Generally, I would hope that all of our leaders are, if they are doing that, it is a lack of awareness. And so what a great moment to have a discussion like that if it feels right, Casey?
Yeah, when you're talking about the complaining and stuff, she had a section on page 149. Because I always just kind of ignored or just kind of discounted people that complain and just like they were just going on and on about random things that don't matter. I didn't really think a lot about it. What she said was, from an enlightened perspective, leaders understand that complaining indicates someone is ready to take some initiative. There's one primary reason people complain: desire or need is not being met. And then a little bit later it said, when people care about something, they are more likely to complain. And so it made sense to me, like, if they're passionate or want to do something about it, that might be their way of reaching out almost. And if you can kind of get them to realize they have a choice in the matter and they can do something about it, that there's a lot of opportunity there for them to almost grow through that complaint, and hopefully turn it into a positive situation.
Really good point. So if someone's complaining, there's that moment where they can go from complaining and it's about something, possibly someone, and then that complaint turns into something that's more personal, and then obviously we've crossed a line at that point, and that's when individuals give up on a person. You're ready to pull out of that situation and run for the hills, right? So again, we could talk more about this, but I just think there's a lot of awareness things that we can all be aware of for ourselves and for the people around us, and realizing that a complaint doesn't mean someone doesn't care. Now, when they cross the line and it becomes personal, maybe they actually don't care about that person, or they care more about themselves, let's put it that way. But just a heightened sense of awareness can be so good, I think, for all of us. Feel free to, I'm going to look for the rest of my notes. If anyone has a comment, feel free to take over. Okay, I got that one. Yeah, and I think this just kind of brings the point home. At the bottom of 174, she's using the Wizard of Oz analogy, and we're often like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz. We have the power but don't recognize it. Our power is not in a pair of ruby slippers, which are easy to see, but in the choices always available, but which are sometimes invisible to us. The first step is to recognize that power exists. Going into the awareness, first you have to just recognize that you're always, if you have that awareness, the power does exist. So I think it helps drive that point home a little bit further. We're already winding down to 8 minutes, so we have just another 2-3 minutes of discussion. So if there's anything else that you guys found as key takeaways here, let's capture those soon and then try to document some key takeaways. I would just comment, I've said this before and I've referenced it in a number of different ways, but imagine you're in a conversation. Put yourself on either side. Sit down and you're neutral. You're in a two-person conversation, you and one other person. You sit, you're neutral, you're both smiling, you're having a good day. You sit down, the conversation starts. You start it or they start it. It goes one way or another, right? Like, a lot is happening already in the conversation. So again, I'll talk about it as awareness, but just think about that conversation. And interestingly, I'm not gonna point out anyone, trust me, on the negative side, because I'm here, but I'm gonna give Jeremy kudos for a minute. I think we could all agree that if we sit down with Jeremy in a conversation like this, that we're gonna get someone on the other end who's listening really intently and delivers their message with compassion and is highly aware and looking inside of you to try to figure out what is going on, right? And that is a different experience than we can get, from some people. So think about that and, channel that power. You all know someone really good at it. Hopefully you're really good at it at times as well, but what was the key point? Key point is kudos to Jeremy, I would say, but my point was you're sitting in this conversation and a lot can happen. And it goes back to recognizing when, I've said it this way to leaders before, two people are disputing. It doesn't matter if they're peers, if there's a manager-employee relationship. Primarily, I've said it in a direct reports to me, so call it on an even playing field from a organizational structure perspective. But I've said to a person in a situation, just be the bigger person. Just be that person, right? That's your awareness, that's your chance to sort of guide that conversation to the right place. That's probably what I'm saying about Jeremy, is he's choosing to be the bigger person in his conversations. And I think that's a good way to look at it, is just realize that you're going to go out and you're going to have those dialogues. So choose to be the bigger person in that dialogue. It's difficult, but if you can hone that craft, it's pretty valuable.
I heard somewhere, I don't know if it was from you, Tim, or from like a Chalmers discussion, but I think being that bigger person just makes me think about what I heard, where if you're in a conversation with two people and you have awareness, chances are that person may not have awareness. And so it's, by you having awareness, it's your responsibility to drive that conversation, because you have to lead that person into a more constructive conversation to figure out how we solve the need that they have. So even though you may not feel like you're in the wrong, or however the dynamic of that conversation is, just owning the result of the conversation and what you need to do to help lead that person, because you are the one with the awareness.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a pushover, but at the same point, you shouldn't be a pushover, and you also shouldn't, drive the knife in when someone's having a bad day, right? Like, I'm the bigger person, drive the knife in. I'm the bigger person, I'm a pushover. Neither one of those are good, so, try to navigate those things. All right, so 4 minutes left. Last chance for comments. We're moving fast today. All right, key takeaways. We need a documenter of key takeaways. Let's get a new one. Matt's got it. All right, so go ahead and shout them out, or I'll bring you the mic, actually.
So I had two takeaways, major ones, three things you indicated on the act. So check your mindset, awareness, and action. And then I'm also going to follow Marlene on LinkedIn.
But people are always engaged in something. We think about drama, it could be positive or it could be negative, and if you're always engaged in something, you have a choice in whether you're engaging in positive drama or negative drama.
The part, we didn't talk about it really out loud, but how our experiences drive our expression. So if we felt powerful or powerless, that drives how we're expressing ourselves through an issue.
Yeah, so are you saying the real feeling of powerlessness drives your expression?
So if you feel powerless, you're more inclined to complain about something and not have solutions.
Right. Yes. Let's capture be the bigger person. We can talk about that again in our finale wrap up. But I think that's a really good one, because it encompasses all those important things around awareness and taking action being thoughtful and just the things to get through a good conversation. Casey has one as well.
The statement on 173 where it said engagement and empowerment are results, not initiatives. And I think that sometimes initiatives are started to do that, but ultimately the results are engagement and empowerment.
Yeah, we didn't spend much time talking about empowerment. That's probably what that be the bigger person conversation is about a little bit, but I have a nice document that we built back in probably 2011 or 2012, and it's a list of empowerment items, and every once in a while I pull that list out and use it from time to time. So I'll get that list. I'm gonna get that list to Jeremy or Trisha. I'll let you guys decide how you want to use it, but I think it would be valuable to get it out to the group. Some ideas on how you can empower others and even think to empower yourself, or you can look at that from all angles. All right, any others? All right, we're gonna call it a wrap. Thought I had another one in here, but that'll be it. Okay, so next week is our final one. Is that correct? Is that where you guys all? Okay, so final one next week. We'll just show up at 12:05, get started. I would like a list of those takeaways. If we could get a volunteer to pull the list, all the takeaways after Matt documents these last ones, and just put them in a list. And then probably post them or bring them on paper. Bring them on paper so we can look at them and have a good discussion, and we can post them later.
Was there someone who recorded from last week to take away?
I think they're all in there, and then so Matt will be the last one. Is that a volunteer, Trisha?
What am I going
Can you grab all of the all the key takeaways from each week and just put them in one document, and then print maybe 20 copies? Bring 20 copies, and that will guide our discussion. And in particular, I would like next week one really solid thing that you're gonna commit to do better, and then I want to know who your peer accountability partner is and that you have already talked to them. That's it from an accountability perspective. No more follow-up there, but just pick your item, talk to that person about, and make sure it's someone that you interact with enough that they can help hold accountable and support you, and ask for them to set high standards of you in that way. And we'll see you next week.